What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one, I wanted to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm also going to break down why Tesla is continuing to push as I speak, why the share price just absolutely exploded, what happened during the earnings call to cause this, and what you should be watching for as time progresses. But before I begin detail all this information, before I give you guys any price predictions for Tesla, SPY, and the overall market, let me just mention a couple of things. I am personally not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Weeble link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Weeble and deposit $500, you're guaranteed 20 free stocks. Deposit $25,000 or more, you're guaranteed 75 of them. And the offer ends very soon in just about 7 days. So, anyways, Tesla is currently at 163 a share. It was just at 162 a couple of minutes ago, which means it's still pushing up higher. We're up almost 13% for the day right now. And Tesla's continuing to push and push and push in the after hours. So the question is, why is this happening? How could this affect SPY, the QQQ, and the others? I'll be talking about everything in this video. As a reminder, Tesla missed on EPS and revenue. Okay, we were expecting 22 billion in revenue. We ended up getting 21 billion instead. We wanted a 49 EPS, a 49-cent EPS. Basically, we got 45 cents instead. So they missed on EPS and revenue. And despite that, the share price is still exploding. Why is that? Well, one of the reasons is because of what Tesla ended up announcing. It's also because of what we're anticipating for the future of this company. Now, please remember that a lot of people started shorting Tesla. Everyone was expecting Tesla to crash, go down to 100 a share, 120 a share. We're talking about all these hardships, focusing on the bad. With all of that happening, the market makers and the institutions may have had a different idea to squeeze shorts and to hurt as many people as possible. And now the share price is up. One thing that Tesla announced is that it increased its AI compute by more than 130% in Q1. And that was the first thing that came out, which caused the share price to go up into the 150s initially. Then we had this news right here. Everyone was talking about how Tesla missed on earnings, this and that. People became fearful. We saw people trying to short Tesla, but instead the share price absolutely rocketed. So I'm going to go over this balance sheet just kind of quickly, very, very briefly. Then I'm going to break down some announcements by Elon Musk. I have a lot of quotes from Elon Musk and lots of notes on what happened during the earnings call. I'll be talking about that as well. And I'll talk about some news about the markets and break down the charts for everyone for SPY, the QQQ, Tesla, and beyond. So when it comes to what we're seeing right over here, when it comes to operating cash flow, we're at about 0.2 billion in Q1. We actually saw a free cash flow of negative $2.5 billion. Not the best of news, with a $2.2 billion decrease in their cash and investments in Q1. Now, on top of all of this, they did end up increasing operations for AI training. The compute for that is up about 130%. And finally, we also have a record energy storage deployment. That's good for them, with them also producing over 1,000 Cybertrucks in a single week in April. They experienced many challenges in Q1, from the Red Sea conflicts to issues around the world, and also supply chains had some constraints, but despite that, they've overcome a lot. There are still a lot of things hurting them, at least for next couple of months. In my personal opinion, Tesla's not clear just yet, but the way Tesla offset all of this was very simple. They said AI, AI, AI a million times, and they basically continue to pump their AI technologies. I'll talk about that in just a minute. When it comes to their financial summaries, when it comes to revenue, they're up about 25% year over year for services and other revenue. Total automotive revenues are down 13%, however, because of what's happening with their sales. And then their overall gross margins are at about not their gross margin, their operating margin. I want to focus on this one instead. This is only at 5.5%. This is more important, not the best. This is one of the worst margins we've seen in a long time for Tesla. Net income also decreased a bit by 55%, so not the best of news. Their EPS is also down 47% compared to what we saw previously year over year. It's not the best of news for Tesla. Revenue was reduced because of the fact that there was a decline in their deliveries. Profitability was also reduced because of pricing and other factors like that. And the revenue also decreased because of how they're trying to expand different things. They're trying to expand the Model 3 update and they're trying to ramp it up. So that ended up affecting them. And profitability went down because of the Giga Berlin production disruptions. On top of all of this, this is what their numbers look like. You guys can see the total production for the Models 3 and Y and other models, putting their total deliveries below what we saw previously. So total production was about 433,000 for Q1. That is on par with what we saw in 2023 Q3, and that was actually one of the worst times of that year. Simultaneously, for deliveries, we had about 386,000, the worst we've seen in all of 2023, and also for this year so far, down 9% so far. So this is what happened in the past. That's the very important thing about this. But what is good is that the capacities did increase for the models S and X, and also for the Model 3, at least in California. Shanghai also saw increases, so did Berlin. Texas somewhat, and then Cybertruck is also a big increase. So that's big for them. Looking at the capacity, the Cybertruck is once again improving big time, and that's very exciting for what's about to come. And we're starting to see successful ramps for the 4680 cells. Besides that, energy generation and storage is once again continuing to increase substantially. That's great news for them, being up about 7% year over year, with their gross profit up about 140% year over year. You guys can see the chart right here. So nice increases. The volume is also continuing to expand when it comes to production. So that's looking pretty good so far. So now what I'm going to do, guys, is you guys can see that a lot of the sales come from China. This is a very big sector for them. So look how big China is, making up a large part of the overall share. But the last thing I want to do is I'm going to just stop at one image, and I'm just going to talk about my notes. So I have a lot of quotes from Elon Musk and etc. Some very important announcements you need to be listening to. So I'm going to read them right now. So when earnings started, Elon Musk said that there had to do a lot of updates to the Model 3 after many challenges. Energy storage increases have been continuing to happen, and their AI training capacity has more than doubled. Also, the new vehicles are able to produce new manufacturing lines for 3 million production for the new capacity, and that is big for Tesla. He also mentioned that there's been a lot of changes for the FSD, as they have over 300 billion miles driven on the version 12, and you're looking at the end-to-end neural networks that are improving. He said that the cameras are like eyes and FSD is the future. He also mentioned their big robo-taxi announcements coming out in August. Very, very bullish news. He mentioned that when it comes to the GPUs, they're incorporating new amounts of them, about 85,000 possibly by the end of the year, just for training alone to make them as efficient as possible. He also believes that despite the fact that they had declines in their revenue quarter over quarter, seasonality played somewhat of a role, and other factors such as slow. I would say a slowing in demand did play a role. They didn't really mention that much. They mentioned that it had to do with other factors. They didn't really talk as much about demand issues, and they focused more about the future. So here's the thing about Tesla. All this bad news I'm showing you guys up here, right? All this bad stuff about how their revenue is going down, margins aren't the best, this and that. That's past data. Okay. The market's very forward looking. And the market's looking at the future. When you see things like this, humanoid robots being uh, incorporated with these computers, and they're also connected to FSD. Everything is connected, essentially, is what they're trying to say. Everything connects to the car, which connects to all these different factors. See how energy storage and everything is connected? This is like a very, very nice umbrella of what Tesla is, and that is an AI company. That's something that Elon Musk reiterated. So because the outlook is looking pretty good, that's why Tesla ended up bouncing. Anyways, going back to the Q&A session, Tesla is working to reduce costs. They're trying to make things a lot more affordable. We're seeing an 80 to 20% increase in the production rate of the 4680 cells. And then Elon Musk was finally asked about Optimus. Musk said that Optimus is able to do simple tasks around the factory labs, and it's going to be able to do useful tasks by the end of the year. And by the end of next year, possibly, now Musk is not always right about these dates, but he is estimating this. By the end of next year, they should be able to sell Optimus just like that. And it's going to be very more valuable than pretty much everything that Tesla's ever produced. So they're saying that there's going to be more value in Optimus than their cars, and it's very, very important as it's going to resemble a sentient human, in the words of Elon Musk. He also mentioned that there's no size limits to that of an economy, and Tesla's just like that. It's in the best position in the world to develop AI. He also mentioned that FSD basically has a lot of regulations that are not really becoming much of an issue because it's going to become safer for them, and that with having half the accident rate, it's going to become not really a big hurdle for them to get through a lot of regulations. On top of all of this, Hardware 5 should be in by next year. They also talked about how they have a good amount of insights on how the cars are going to perform and big improvements. And for the $25,000 EV, he said that they're accelerating, their lineup and production mechanisms to get the vehicle out as fast as possible. They'll talk more about that on August 8th. They're trying to solve autonomy as fast as they can, and eventually they're going to have tens of millions of vehicles to do it. On top of this, Musk said that they may produce new cars later on towards the end of this year, but nothing is guaranteed yet. And the Cybercab is a possibility. They achieved more than 1,000 Cybertrucks produced per week, which is a very, very big improvement. There were some supplier limitations that they're still trying to overcome, and Tesla's been in conversations with licensing FSD with one major company. That's huge news, huge, huge, huge news. Licensing FSD is going to be very bullish for Tesla. Simultaneously, Tesla constitutes the majority of this time. of Elon Musk's time, and that he's going to continue to work hard to make Tesla prosperous. Musk was asked, will the growth rate of 2024 be lower than that of 2023? And Musk said, you know what? I think we're going to have higher sales this year than last year. That's what Musk said, and I quote. He also said that he's not worried about what China is going to likely do from this. And when it comes to the robo taxi, they're just focusing on themselves. And then Musk also said something very important. He said, like Kathy Wood said, Tesla should be seen as an AI company, not a car company. He's saying that we shouldn't be just focusing on the auto lens of it, but their AI developments because they're going to put the auto in automobile. He's saying that they're going to be developing technology that's worth trillions of dollars. They're going to be developing AI better than almost any other company on the planet. And what they're doing with this technology is going to have a huge impact in disrupting industries and the lives of hundreds of millions, if not billions of people. That's huge news, and that's very, very important for them. He mentioned the importance of values and fundamentals, making things more affordable. And Musk said something else that's very important. He said that Tesla can be free cash flow positive. If that ends up being the case, they could be announcing some kind of buyback. Tesla may be announcing a buyback of their shares very, very soon. That would be absolutely spectacular news for them if that ended up being the case. Now, on top of all of this, there's also a lot of talk about how FSD is going to be using more neural networks. When it comes to regulations, he's not really as worried about them. There are different regulations around the world. And then finally, there's a lot of talk about how Tesla had to go over some of its suppliers so that the battery orders just went insane. And finally, that's pretty much it. Auto costs should decline quite a bit, according to Elon Musk, and the long term is still very bright. So, in short, okay, let's just kind of like summarize this. AI, 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 FSD, AI, the Optimus robot, the new hardware coming out, Robotaxi. It was just, they talked about that the entire time, and that is what pumped the stock like crazy. If you look at this, okay, I was talking earlier, I was saying that, hey, Tesla's up quite a bit. We're up even more now. We're approaching 164. So Tesla's continuing to just pump and pump and pump. It's continuing to look very, very bullish, and it's continuing to hold up very, very well right now. So the share price is obviously going to be pushing more tomorrow. It's going to try to push higher. We'll have to see where it ends up opening. But if anything, there's still so much potential as this thing has gone absolutely berserk. So, with that being said, when it comes to the overall stock market, let me just mention a couple of things before I break down Tesla. For tomorrow, there's not really a whole lot of news coming out. Tomorrow is Wednesday, April 24th. Not much data is coming out for tomorrow. We have the New York Fed Treasury purchases, which is very minor at 10:30 a.m. Excuse me, at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We have the 17-week bill auction and a couple more auctions. Once again, it's all just very, very minor data, nothing too serious. For more earnings for tomorrow, before the market opens, we have Boeing and AT&T announcing their earnings. After the market closes, we have Meta and IBM and Ford announcing their earnings. Meta is going to be a very important one. And then for the Fear and Greed Index, right now the market is still quite fearful. We're getting closer to neutral, but as this is shifting, we're starting to see a big change in the markets. Market momentum is back to neutral, starting to bounce off support. And then two more things. The puts and call positioning is dipping a little bit more as we're starting to see puts being closed and we're starting to see buyers stepping in again. Everyone was shorting the market like crazy. That's why the ratio went up. And now the shorts are once again paying the price because market makers are starting to squeeze them. That's very important, at least temporarily. The VIX is dipping towards the 50 daily moving average at 14.81, and we'll see what happens from there. Tesla has achieved 123 million in volume. Volume for tomorrow is going to be crazy, so we'll have to see how that looks. Short volume is dropping as we're starting to see a big shift over there. And then this is very funny. Guggenheim gave Tesla a sell rating when it was in the 140s. Now it's in the 160s just a few days after. So it's very, very interesting, very funny stuff. Moving forward, I just wanted to mention that the price price ratio was down. This is about to get a big bounce because Tesla is going to heavily outperform the market tomorrow. For Wednesday, we tend to be green 48% of the time, but we will close green tomorrow. And we're going to be looking to see more volatility after the first 30 minutes. We tend to be more volatile at 10 a.m. and also at 1 p.m. So watch and see how that goes. And besides that, Tesla is still once again doing well in terms of its share price. Now, how was earnings? In my personal opinion, earnings were not that good for Tesla as they missed on EPS and revenue, but their guidance and their talk about AI and the future of this company was so great, so profound, that the share price is still exploding despite what their earnings look like, and investors are very excited for what's about to come. So with that being said, let's talk about Tesla. What do I think the share price is going to do? We have basically this very, very nice uptrend, and now we have this previous support becoming resistance close to this 165 range. If we break through this, I think that Tesla could be easily approaching 168 and 170. I think 170 is going to be our next target if we break past 165. That's where we have more previous support becoming resistance. And if we break 170, if we manage to break that, we have a lot of room to push towards 175. There's not a whole lot of resistance stopping it. So that is how I kind of see this going. I think this is going to push up to at least 165. If we break that, we could easily get to 170 at least. And I think that there is potential for Tesla to go even higher as we have a lot of these gaps to fill. We have quite a few gaps to fill. If you look at the current timeframes on Tesla, and we'll just have to see how it goes from here. But right now, Tesla's looking very bullish. If you want to turn back to bearish, you want to see it basically lose our 200 EMA at 158. If we lose that, it could turn back down. Right now, there's not a single sign of it turning down. It looks really bullish. So it's going to likely help the market push. Tesla has been pushing, and notice that SPY was also pushing in the after hours. This could be very positive for SPY. Watch this 506.7 resistance on SPY. If we break this, we have previous support becoming resistance at 509 coming next. 509 is coming next for SPY if we break past 506.7. If we lose 505, look at support at 504. If that fails, let's look at 502. My guts tells me it might try to push a little higher. Watch for confirmation just to be safe, but this does favor 509. The QQQ is also getting help from not just Tesla, but also Nvda. And let me talk about Nvda first before the QQQ. Nvda is pushing thanks to Tesla with all this AI talk. So notice that I called it in the morning that this thing is going to likely see at least 830 to 834. We've already surpassed that in the after hours. Our next target is going to be around 847. I think that Nvidia could be pushing all the way up there to fill this imbalance. So we're going to be looking for 847 to 850 very soon. I think Nvidia could push even higher from here. If we lose 830, we could turn back down to about 825, but my gut does not favor that. I favor this pushing to at least 850 towards our 200 EMA. For the QQQ, this is looking bullish thanks to Nvidia and Tesla especially. Look at 428 as resistance. If we break this, 430 is coming towards our 200 EMA. If we lose 425, we turn back down to 422.75. I don't favor that. I think this is going to go all the way up towards at least 430, if not higher. And if we break that, 430, like 433-ish is coming next. So I see more upside potential in the QQQ. And I think that Tesla's playing a big role in why that's happening. On top of all of this, we have Aapl looking pretty good right now. We're at resistance right now at this 167 zone. If we break this, Apple's actually up a little bit in the after hours. If we break through 167, look for a push for 167.5, then 168. If we lose support at 166.4, we're going to be dipping all the way down to 166. My gut favors this trying to push up higher. For, let's see, we have Palantir trying to push higher. We're going to be looking for a push towards 22.2. If that breaks, we have previous support becoming resistance at 22.5. So I think 22.2 is coming to 22.5. Palantir has some potential, but we need confirmation for us to break past 22. It has potential. Super Micro is going to be approaching 800. If we break that, we could be on our way towards 840 essentially is going to be our next target. So I think it could be pushing to at least 800 very soon, then 840. For Rivian, like I said in my earlier video yesterday, I said that this is going to be heavily dictated by Tesla. We have a double bottom leg structure. If we continue to go, we're going to be looking at previous support becoming resistance at 9.5-ish. We could go higher, so watch for that. For, let me see, SoFi is going to be approaching resistance at 7.65. If we break through this, we're going to be looking for a push all the way up towards 7.7, then eventually 7.9. I see potential in SoFi, so we'll see how that goes, but I do see that this could push higher. For the IWM Russell 2000, this is also trying to push higher. Look for that resistance around this 200 area. I think that the Russell could be pushing for that. Could retest 198 and start pushing for 200. That's a strong possibility. For AMD, we're trying to push higher towards, let me see, I could be looking for 155. I think it could go a little higher, so watch for that. I called the bounce yesterday, and that is what's happening so far. For ARM, we're also pushing higher as you predicted. Our next target is going to be all the way up towards 100. I called the bounce at either 80 or 87, and that is close to what ended up happening. We didn't go as far down as like 80, but we did bounce from 87. So now we're approaching resistance around 100. For Coinbase, it really depends. Coinbase is still not extremely clear to me, but we have to hold this white trend line. If we hold this, we could be pushing all the way up towards 245. If we lose support at 232, we could be dipping down to 226. I favor this holding support and trying to break out towards 245. So we'll have to see if that ends up being the case. For Amazon, in my opinion, could be pushing a bit higher. I think it either might retest 178 then bounce and break out towards 181, or it could just break out for 181 from here. So I'm going to be looking for another push attempt. It could get higher, a little bit higher towards 181. It's not looking as strong, but there is some potential in that. On top of all of this, we're going to be looking to see how else things go. I think that with Meta approaching its earnings, if this thing continues to go, we could be heading towards this 510 area. That is very, very probable if we do continue to hold up. Watch and see if we get a back test of 500 first and then push to 510, or if we just keep going. But either way, it's looking bullish and it looks to me like it could go higher. For Microsoft, we're looking bullish right now. We might either retest like 406 and then break out to at least 412, or it could just go up to 412 from here, but the chart looks bullish. For Google, this is dipping a little bit, so I'm going to be looking at the support at 159. If we lose that, look for 158 and see if we bounce. It's going to bounce either off 159.08 or 158.14. It's going to dip a little bit, maybe gap down tomorrow, and then we'll see if it bounces. This is not looking as strong because we had some negative news. For the VIX, we're on a downtrend. The VIX is actually continuing to fall. If it keeps dipping like this, look for 14.8-ish. The VIX is looking bearish because the market's looking a little bit more bullish. That's dragging the VIX down. It's down 7% for the day and has more downside potential. For the 10-year Treasury yield, there's a big gap down here. Look at this giant gap. If this continues to fall down to fill this gap, that could be bullish for the markets. As of right now, it's kind of trading in this range, so give it a little bit more time. And then for the dollar index, we have a nice looking distributive structure right here. If we reject and start falling, we're going to be looking at this resistance becoming support at 105.5, and that could cause this to dip a bit more. If the dollar ends up dipping more, this could help the market push higher. So watch and see if that ends up being the case. With that being said, Tesla is pushing up. Tesla's looking bullish. I think it's going to gap up tomorrow very, very nicely, even gap up from here. If we break that 165 area, watch at least 170. I think it's going to likely approach that. I think there's a lot of potential in this, and this is going to likely be used as a catalyst to push the market higher. All right. So with that being said, thank you all so much for listening. Tesla's at the moon. The long term is still very bright, and we'll see how it goes from here. Please remember the market is very manipulated. The market is very tricky, and there's so much more that's going on from this point on. I'll give you guys another update tomorrow morning just to see how things go. And with that being said, I thank you all. I appreciate everyone. Take care, guys. Let's get ready for tomorrow. I'm very excited for what's about to happen. I'll be back in about 12 hours. Basically, like an hour before the market opens tomorrow, I'll just start recording some videos. I should upload them like 15 minutes before market open, and we'll see how things go from there. All right. Have a great day. Thank you, and peace out.